Yo, what's up guys? This sample that I'm about to break down today is inspired by the song Rose, and here's a snippet of the song. And if you know this song, you probably also know that Schoolboy Q sampled the song in his album Blue Lips. And what drew me to the song was the drums and the whole vibe of the entire song. So I wanted to recreate those drums for this vintage sample, and therefore I made these drums with the 6/8 time signature, and the drums sound like this. And so after I made those drums, I knew that I have the vibe that I wanted for this vintage sample. I then added a piano from Soft Labs, and it sounds like this. And I knew that the vibe was there with this piano as well, as I didn't use type of chords that I would use for an R&B sample, so I went really with the basic chords here, and that's what I would recommend you do when you want to make this type of vintage samples. I also then added another piano layer, and the piano layer sounds like this. So for the piano layer, I just wanted to add those type of accents on top of the chord. I then added an organ from B42, and it sounds like this. And the reason for adding the organ was that I wanted a pad layer, and if you listen to 70s type of music, you will hear that they used to use organs and electric pianos to serve as a pad, and now we just use ambient pads for this type of genres like R&B and trap. But for old school soul music, they used organs and electric piano, so that's exactly what I wanted for this sample. I then added a bass from Moto Bass, and the preset is 70s P bass, and it sounds like this. And the bass is also very basic, following the chord progressions. And I then added my own vocals, where I sang a bunch of takes, but I didn't put them here. I just got rid of them because they were cluttering the whole entire sample. But the terms of the layers are still here in the sample, and it sounds like this. And that's how my vocals sound like. I then added an electric piano so that it can also serve as a pad again in this section of the sample. because in this section I got rid of the organ, therefore I replaced it with the electric piano. And the electric piano is also from Lounge Lizard and it sounds like this. I then decided to add brass instruments, which is I added trumpets from X-Band. I also added a tenor trombone from Sonatina Orchestra. I also added a oboe from also Sonatina Orchestra. And together these brass instruments sound like this. And those are the last instruments that I added for the sample. So I didn't add much to the sample. And let me show you the effects that I used. So for the piano, I added a CLA2A stereo from Waves, which is a compressor plugin. And the reason why I added this compressor plugin was I wanted it to tame the peaks of the vocals, of the piano. I then also added a Abbey Road plate stereo also from Waves, where I just wanted to add the piano to be in another space, since the one from Soft Labs is very dry. I then added a Fruity Delay 3, as well as another Abbey Road plate for the piano melody. And for the electric piano, I didn't add anything, I just took care of the low end. And for my vocals, I added an EQ to cut the frequencies before sending them to a compressor, and the compressor is once again the CLA2A stereo, which is doing the exact same thing as the piano in terms of it's just cutting or taming the peaks of the vocals so that the vocal is not all over the place. I also added a de-esser to just tame the high frequencies a little bit. I then also added another EQ to also shape the vocal. I then sent it to a vocal bus where I added a Fruity Delay 3 to add a type of space. I then also added a Valhalla plate where I went with a small decay so that the vocal can be pushed up front. I then added a Valhalla plate again with a little bit of more decay, which kind of puts it back in the mix again. So I don't really know what I was doing at this point, but it worked for this sample. I then added an EQ to also shape the sound. And for the organ, I just added a chorus plugin to make it a little bit wider. And the horn, which is the trumpets and the other horn instruments, I added an Echo Boy to also add a little bit of width. I then also added a Valhalla plate to put it in its own space. And for the oboe, I just added a Valhalla vintage verb to also create a space. And for the master channel, I added an SSL comp stereo, which is a master bus compressor from Waves. I added this to glue the whole entire sample together. I then added a Abbey Road vinyl stereo to add distortion and saturation just a little bit to make it a little bit dirtier. I then added Limitless, which is a limiter plugin, to also put it in its own space and to make it not go above 0 dBs. And with that said, let me play you the final sample, and the final sample sounds like this. that's the final sample, and if you know this sample, you know that it's in my sample pack Food for the Soul Volume 2. The link is in the description of this video if you want to purchase the sample pack and possibly flip the sample in your own way. And I hope with this video I made you realize that making vintage samples is actually easy and it's not a really complicated thing. It's just like sort of like Afrobeats in terms of the chords have to be very simple and not really complicated and all over the place. And with that said, I hope I was of help to you, and thank you very much for watching my videos and for your support. I'll see you again 2 weeks from now. Thank you for watching.